take care of the vapor, the truck connects to a second valve at the top of the tank. As
Oh,
the
it
gasoline
extracts
is
the
pumped from
vapor?
the truck into the tank, the vapor exits through this secondary
Yo,
valve
that's
and gets
cold.
pushed back into the truck. That
Oh,
vapor
heck.
is then returned to the processing plant, cooled down, and turned back into usable fuel. When a
Yo,
customer
hold
goes to
on.
fill up their car,
That's actually so cool. Hey, yo, what's up? We got another construction video. Well, engineering video. We got another video. Let's see this. Primal Space. Bro, let me tell you something, bro. Let me tell you something, right? Primal Space. This is my first video from him. So, I think this is going to be pretty cool. But I've been digging these engineering videos. We watched the Coliseum video. We watched the Medieval Castles video, right? We've seen some other ones by Fern and all that. I quite enjoyed these. These are pretty cool. So I'm probably gonna link them later in the video as like a recommended one if you want to see those, or you can find it. Maybe I'll make a playlist. Who knows? But that being said, we're about to get straight into it. So grab your knickers, cause it's about to be liquors. Let's do it.
it's 1913. You're driving along in your brand new Ford Model T. The roof is
Okay.
down, the sun is out.
Okay,
life is
yo,
good,
he living
but you're
large,
running out of
bro.
gas. Luckily, the world's first gas station just opened up around the corner.
Hey.
So you pull in and fill up your car in
This
seconds.
is W3D
This
rendering.
was a brand
What?
new concept at the time, and it planted
100%.
a seed that would go on to change the world. The car market exploded, and soon more than 150,000 gas stations had been built all across the country, giving people the freedom to travel like never before. Since then, gas
$5
stations
a
went
gallon.
from being dangerous fire hazards at the side of the street to ultra-efficient pit stops, pumping out 3 billion gallons of fuel around the world every day. We modeled the entire
3
thing
bill.
to show you the hidden engineering behind gas stations, the 100-year quest to master them, and the incredible mechanisms that make them work. In order to understand how gas stations work today,
Isn't
we need
coal-
to go back to a time before they even existed. Most people didn't
Like
have
used
cars
to
yet,
make gas?
but kerosene was being widely used to power lamps and stoves. To get it, you'd go to
And
a hardware
oil.
store where an employee would pour it straight into a can and sell it to you. When cars started coming along, the kerosene would go from the store into a can, and the customer would pour it into their car using a funnel. This was slow and dangerous, and so there needed to be a safer and more efficient way to
Yeah.
pour kerosene. That's when American inventor Sylvanus Bowser came up with the fuel pump.
Bowser?
This was a hand-driven
Come on
mechanism
now.
that squeezed kerosene from its container through a one-way valve and out of a
Hey,
nozzle
yo.
on top. One full crank would dispense exactly 1 gallon of fuel.
Oh, that's
Soon,
dope.
these pumps started being placed on city streets, allowing cars to be filled up conveniently by an attendant.
That's dope.
But customers had
One
no
full
idea
crank?
if they were actually getting all of the fuel they paid for. And so, a few years
They getting
later,
shorted?
the visible fuel pump was invented. The attendant would first pump the fuel into a glass tank on top of the pump, measuring it to an exact amount. Then, by opening a valve, gravity would drain all of the fuel into the customer's car. These small curbside gas
That's
pumps
cool.
worked well in the early days, when in 1900,
You know, that's
there were
so
only
dope. Hold
8,000
up.
cars.
Hold up, bro. Nah, that's so cool. If we had those nowadays, bro, that's like the electric charging stations. That's basically kind of like what those are, but for the electric charging stations. That's the way it is now. Those are kind of coming back.
in the whole US. But just 12 years later, that number increased to 1.2 million, and suddenly, cars were everywhere. Traffic jams started building up around every pump, and the small 50-gallon tanks couldn't cope with the demand. Worst of all, having all of the fuel stored above ground meant that things could go catastrophically wrong. And so, in 1913, the
Shit.
Gulf Oil
Someone
Company
fires
opened
a
up the
shot,
first
boom,
dedicated
blows
fueling
up the whole
station in
block.
Pittsburgh. Instead of a single pump, they placed a much larger storage tank underground and connected it to 6 pumps, allowing multiple cars to fill up at the same time. On its first day, it sold just 30 gallons of kerosene, but the word quickly spread, and by the end of the week, it was already selling 350 gallons per day for around 27 cents per gallon. Similar
27
gas
cents a
stations
gallon?
started opening
Hey.
up all over the country,
I don't-
and the car became the ultimate key to freedom. But by the 1920s, most cars had switched from kerosene to gasoline, since it burned more easily and was more efficient. But this caused a new problem: vapor.
Yeah,
Kerosene
the
had a flash
gasoline
point
vapor.
of 38 degrees, meaning that it wouldn't emit flammable vapor until it reached that temperature. But for gasoline, the flash point was negative 40 degrees, and so it was constantly emitting flammable vapor into the air. This vapor would build up inside the tanks and pollute the air whenever someone filled up their car. All it took was one small spark, and the customer would
Light the whole
quickly become
bitch
history.
up.
To learn about your own history, you can use MyHeritage, an online genealogy.
I want to do a heritage thing later on. Is it still going? Dang, that was long, boy.
Dangerous fire hazards to get 14 days for free.
Okay, there we go.
In order to turn gas stations from dangerous fire hazards into efficient self-service pit stops, some clever engineering had to happen. Up until this point, cars were always filled up by a trained attendant. But as competition started to rise, gas station owners were desperate to lower their prices. And so, in 1947, Frank Ulrich opened the first ever self-service gas station. By getting rid of the need for an employee, he was able to lower the cost of gas from 23 cents per gallon to just 18 cents per gallon, drastically undercutting the competition around him. But the idea of customers handling their own gasoline seemed dangerous, and so self-service stations were banned throughout most of the country. The problem was, customers had no clue when their tanks were full, and so gasoline would often spill out all over the gas station.
That's
when
crazy
engineers
as
came
heck.
up with the automatic shutoff valve. This was a simple mechanical float placed inside the nozzle that would rise and shut off the flow of fuel once the car was full. But deep underground, there was still one huge problem. Inside the huge storage tanks, gasoline vapor would build up, forming a layer of flammable gas. When it came time to refill the tanks, the vapor would get pushed out into the atmosphere, creating an almighty fire hazard.
Again, bro.
On top of that, the steel tanks would corrode over time, leaking gasoline into the surrounding soil. Nowadays, these underground gas tanks are made from fiberglass, and they have dozens of hidden engineering details that all go into making them safe. Here's how it all works. When a truck comes to refill the tanks every few days, it connects to a valve on the surface, and gasoline starts flowing into the tanks. As the level within the tank reaches around 95%, a flapper valve flips up and stops the flow of fuel, making sure it can never be overfilled. To take care of the vapor, the truck connects to a second valve at the top of the tank. As the
it
gasoline
extracts
is
the
pumped from
vapor?
the truck into the tank, the vapor exits through this secondary
Yo,
valve
that's
and gets
cold.
pushed back into the truck. That
Oh,
vapor
heck.
is then returned to the processing plant, cooled down, and turned back into usable fuel.
Yo,
When a customer
hold
goes to
on.
fill up their car,
That's actually so cool. That's so cool and so dangerous at the same time, bro. Cause like he's walking around with all that vapor, right? Not walking around, driving around with all that vapor, right? Bro's got like a truck full of flammable vapor. Obviously, it's the same amount of dangerous as the whole truck full of gasoline, so not really a big deal on the way back. Maybe actually, I don't know. Is the vapor more? I feel like the vapor is probably more flammable than the liquid. No, is that the case? I don't know, but either way, that's such a cool system. That is so cool that you can like that it like takes the vapor back and then like they just get it down into a usable liquid form later. That's so dope. That's really dope.
a pump placed at the bottom of the tank activates and starts sending gas up through a series of pipes and filters
Hold
into
up,
the
hold up,
fuel.
hold up. Don't want to miss it. Okay.
Pushed back into the truck. That vapor is then returned to the processing plant, cooled down, and turned back into usable fuel. When a customer goes to fill up their car, a pump placed at the bottom of the tank activates and starts sending gas up through a series of pipes and filters into the fuel dispenser. From there, it flows into the fuel nozzle, which is perhaps the most interesting piece of the puzzle. Back in the day, this would have been a simple valve releasing gas into the car. Now, it's a mechanical work of art that makes it impossible to overfill a car. As the fuel enters the nozzle, it pushes its way through a narrow opening. Small holes around the opening lead down a thin pipe to a small opening at the tip of the nozzle. As the fuel flows, a low pressure region forms here thanks to the Venturi effect. Because of this, air starts being sucked in through the narrow pipe and into the opening, where it mixes with the gasoline. Another tube, also connected to the narrow opening, leads to a small compartment containing a sealed membrane. This is where the magic happens. When the lever gets pressed, it pivots around here and opens up a valve, allowing fuel to pass through. But the only thing holding this part in place is a set of ball bearings. When your car is full, the fuel covers the hole at the top of the nozzle. This cuts off the flow of air being sucked into the system, and so the only other path to get more air is through the other tube. But it's completely sealed, and so this negative pressure sucks the air out of the sealed compartment, creating a vacuum and lifting up the membrane. The ball bearings are now free to drop, causing the whole lever system to fall, closing the valve and cutting off the flow of fuel. After the 70s, cars became more efficient and required less trips to fill up. And so, the number of gas stations started to decline. But thanks to 100
Shout out to
years of
engineering majors.
gas stations became safe and mundane.
Engineers.
Thanks to MyHeritage for supporting this video. Get 14 days for free using the link below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Oh, it's over? Dang. That was a quick video, but I really liked that. That was cool. Hey, W Video, brother. You know what? No. We're going back. Hold up. W Video, brother. I'm going to actually check out another one by you in a second. Actually, Primal Space. I like that. I like that a lot. With that being said, let me know if y'all liked it too. Excuse me. Leave a like, comment down below what y'all's favorite part of the video was. Y'all like these videos? Let me know. And subscribe. Subscribe to Primal Space, and I'll catch y'all later. Bye.